race one of the BMW IBSF Women's Monobob World Series. We're in Innsbruck in Austria, getting ready for the second and deciding heat in this first World Cup encounter for the Monobob sleds, rushing headlong and single-seated into the Olympic Games. Martin Haven and John Morgan ready for the action. We've cut our original field of 28 sleds to 20, and John, we have a super tight leaderboard.
Well, the persona of this Innsbruck track is close racing, ties. Here's Kaillie Humphries, who was the world champion in this sport last year in Altenburg, multiple Olympic medalist, and she can also drive these singles sleds, and she puts herself into a podium position. She's 200ths out of the top spot. And next up, her teammate, Alana Myers-Taylor. Alana, always known as one of the top female starting athletes in the field. Didn't do so well at the World Championships in Monobob, but here she's made a little rebound, and she's at the top of the leaderboard. She's in a tie for first place to the 100th of a second with this Laura Nolta, you know, bronze medalist in the World Championships last year. This is a rising star in the German program and doesn't get the starts that Alana Myers-Taylor does, 10th back, but she can drive. And Martin, 3 sleds separated by the 200ths, and don't count out Cynthia Appia. Quite a leader box we got there.
Yes, it really is. 1500s covering the top 7. There could definitely be some changes there, but look at the talent at the very top. Laura Nolta really blazed a trail last year, one of the new young German drivers. Her success was fantastic. And of course, she has got 2 Olympic medalists, Olympic champions, world champions right behind her. Little further back, still lots to play for. There are some very tight gaps. Outside of the top 20, the remaining 8 athletes just get the single run here, and they will try and pick up some more hints and tips ready for next week's race, which will also be here in Innsbruck. Be a lot of doubling up in what's going on. There's Alana Myers-Taylor, just having a look at the video. Same for Kaillie Humphries. And John, the advent of video cameras and iPads and coaching tools like that has really changed the way that the athletes are able to dissect what they're doing and just fine-tune all of their driving skills and their lines.
The sport in the 21st century, boy, I call bobsledding the most technically advanced sport in the Winter or Summer Olympic Games. All these video that the athletes work with now, Martin, unbelievable.
And yet they are still as close to the basic sleds of the 50s and 60s as ever they were. Wai Ming will be first off. We go 20-1. Both runs count, so the total time elapsed for both of your heats will decide your finishing position. It's not just about the medals here. Also, there are qualification standards for all these nations to be met to qualify for the Games. Wai Ming of China, first of our 20 sleds, race 1 of the BMW IBSF Women's Monobob World Cup. And Wai with a 9th best start, 20th at the bottom of the track. These sleds are a very different feeling thing to the normal 2-seater sleds that most of our drivers are used to, so they require different lines and a different feel.
Impressed with this, both young Chinese athletes. One didn't qualify, but top 10 starts. Shows they got a chance. Well, there's one thing they have a chance with is the home track advantage. They've been down that track in China 1,000 times. And at the pre-Olympic event that they had a few weeks ago, no Chinese sleds competed. It wasn't an official World Cup, but the Chinese just didn't want to show everybody their lines that they've had from the 1,000 trips that they had when they did not make it out of the World Cup circuit last year. A lot of strange stuff going on.
The deal with driving these sleds is that because they're a little lighter, you essentially do less steering. So imagine the difference between a big 4-man and a 2-man. You steer less in the lighter sleds because it's easier to upset. And that's the deal here as well. But if you're used to a 2-seater sled, it must feel like you're doing dangerously small amounts of steering initially. And I think that's really what takes some getting used to. Well, why happy with that second run?
Well, she might have just started off in the woman's bob or monobob first, Martin. It's a great training tool. You don't have to worry about a brakeman getting crashed, because if you start to drive a bobsled, you're going to crash. So this way you can go down, don't worry about your brakeman, learn how to drive. She's happy.
Well, she got down and she didn't run out of track either. Next up, Misha McNeel. Now the deal for Misha, she needs 18th or better in one of the 3 races to achieve the minimum standards for the British Olympic Association. Just saw her coach Lee Johnson there. 22nd at the start, 19th at the bottom. If she can pick up a place or 2 here, and the next 3 sleds are covered by just 0.02 of a second, then that will be very good indeed. 6:13. Let's see how the track holds up, John, as the heat progresses.
Well, you know, Martin, she's got the ability. We know she can drive. She just, this track here where there's such an emphasis on the start, you know, in the first run, she had the 22nd best start, drove herself into the, you know, at 19th place, but no mistakes allowed. When you have a deficient start time, you got to have the perfect eyes and hands descent. That's pretty good. Kept it off the wall. Speed, 101 kilometers. That's best speed. She's pulling away now. She's showing the experience. She's got a lot of experience.
It's dialing herself in after the first heat. That is a much better, much better run than her first heat. She was kind of a little loose and just sliding around in the first run. That is much better. So 55.85, that would have left her 15th, John, not 19th. Yeah, she shot out at the end. So I think actually from what I'm hearing from the coaches, a lot of the drivers were nervous about getting on the brakes before the final turn in case they rolled the sled.
Look at the cohesion getting in. Make sure your visor's down. You see her bring her hand over her face. Now look at the runner tips here as she exits, gets off the outlet of the curve. Does she tap? Yeah, but not. That's one of the better exits we've seen, Martin. We'll keep our eyes on that pivotal part of the track, exit 9.
Oh, just favoring her hamstring a little bit there. Let's hope there's nothing up with that. She's got a race tomorrow. Now then, Ashley Werner from Australia, a former brakewoman for Brianna Walker. 21st at the start with a 6:11 100th. That's the difference that she had ahead of current leader Misha McNeel from the first heat. So again, like Misha, she needs to tidy up the drive.
Didn't get very good starts, Martin. 21st start, 6:14 there, 300 slower, pretty much like McNeel.
Well, and crucially, she lost time there to McNeel. She was quicker than Misha in the first push, so she's already behind.
800's behind too, so that tells, and McNeil's much more experienced driver than this young Australian. And watch the exit of 1200s. Remember how good McNeel was right here?
Yeah.
A little harder hit. Ooh, she got real high on 10. 1800 speed's good. She's going to fall back 1.
Yeah, Wai Ming is 3600s back, so she drops a spot. Misha McNeel stays in the leader's box, and for Misha, she really needs to stay in there for another 2 or 3 sleds. Top 18 in 3 races this year for Misha McNeel would be the British Olympic qualifying standard. And so it's definitely within her capabilities. You just don't have too many choices. If you make a mistake, it can cost you one of those vital race spots.
Pivotal part of the track, we'll show you this a lot. The exit of 9, she's coming around her very low. Look at the front runner tips. You can see she did steer to get off, did tap the wall, and she's got a little bit of a skid going. The back end's coming around. That wasn't perfect. How high does she get here? Pretty much the norm.
Look at the smile on her face. You can see it despite the helmet. So Misha McNeel, the leader. Andrea Greu has twice the advantage that Ashley Werner did. 200ths of a second in hand. Let's see what the Romanian can do. 8th best starter, but she had a really skiddy first run.
In 97, the exact same time she had in the first run. Martin, I agree with you. She had a pretty sloppy ride down. This is in the two-woman bob. This athlete here has won medals. Almost won a World Cup in Latvia a few years ago, which was the European Championship. It is like 200ths off the title. And if she would have won that event, she would have had a pension for life in Romania.
Yeah.
That was
as the
an
European
amazing
champion.
Story. Yeah, she hasn't come to that yet. These are good lines.
No.
This is much better.
Yeah, that was a great battle. Her and Nadezhda Sergeva, who ended up with the title.
This is a much better run.
Much better for Andrea Greu. So she takes the lead from Misha McNeel. Misha may still move up.
2,500's better than she was.
Well, don't forget,
That's
Misha improved, and the next 3 or 4 sleds, in fact, where his 14th place was 900ths ahead of Misha McNeel. So there is definitely opportunities for a lot of changes in this field.
She was, that time there, she would have put her in 10th place in the first run, Martin. Much better run. Look at the runner tips. She's steering to get off. Very quiet steering. Great exit. She didn't do this in the first run. If she did, she'd be up in the top 10.
Well, she managed to stop the sled nicely as well. It is now Andrea Greu who leads. And next up from Austria, Katty Bile, 20th fastest at the start, 16th at the bottom, 200ths of a second ahead of Andrea Greu. So, again, she didn't have a typically neat and tidy Katty Bile run in the first heat. None of the athletes wasting much time when the 60-second counter starts. They head off. By the way, just want to say, get well soon to Wolfgang Stampfer. He had a sled, a crash in a bobsled a couple of days ago, last week, and his helmet came off, and he suffered some facial injuries. He's going to need some facial surgery. So we send our very best wishes to Wolfgang Stampfer. Other than that, I gather he is okay.
Wolfie, thinking of you, my friend. Look at the best speed. This is one of the best drivers. She won the World Cup title last year in two-person, two-woman's bob. Doesn't get great starts, but we all know she can drive. And she didn't have a very good first run. But she needs great runs every time down because she's got the deficient start time. She's going to have to find some kind of Austrian shortcut here. She's the 10th down.
She's got...
She found it.
Yikes.
That's what we call the Austrian shortcut. How many years we've been coming here? Down there, the Austrians find some way. Not only in bobsled, in skeleton, in luge. It's, you know, I've been coming to this track way too long.
So many years of development, they clearly know how to set the sleds up for that final run in the labyrinth. And John, it's so easy to get the line wrong, isn't it? And that's, I think, half the key. They just have the line.
Look at the speed. Now, the difference in time, she got beat by 800ths at the start, but by the halfway down point, she was almost a half kilometer better. That's called eyes and hands. She's a very good driver.
Katty Bile leads from Andrea Greu and Misha McNeel. 5 down, 15 to go. Race 1 of the BMW IBSF Women's Monobob World Series. Second heat, and we're into our top 15. Margot Bock of France. Started 17th fastest, came down 15th with what looked like a nice, neat drive. Max Robert, her coach there, right behind her.
Start time, Martin. Needs a better start.
And you see there are different ways of the athletes getting into the sled, John. Some sort of leap in and some run along the sled. It's still kind of work in progress, this monobob business, isn't it?
Yeah. She was on the start list in Yanka, China a couple weeks ago for that pre-Olympic event and did not start. So I don't know what happened there. Didn't get disqualified. Boy, skid there up top, 700s down. And Katty Bile just used that Austrian shortcut knowledge and just, she's in the lead because of her driving skills. Question is, how much is this French sled gonna fall?
Yeah, right now.
Fall at least two spots yeah. Most likely.
Well, there's only 100 between first and second, and she comes through just 400s ahead of Misha McNeel in third spot, so Katty Bile stays in the leader's box.
She goes up into the rubber there.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. That's not in your best interest.
Brakewoman Carla Seneschal we'll see in action with Margot. You just saw her running up there. They'll be racing tomorrow in the women's two-seater sled.
Good lines, Martin. A little skid there. Just, you know, when you got that deficient start time, you put so much pressure on your driving skills.
Yeah. Aren't you? Even if you've got a great start, making mistakes tends to undermine that. Lubov of Russia started 400s faster than Margot Bock, but came down just 200s ahead of her and 500s ahead of our current leader, Katty Bile of Austria. Oh, catches her foot. Now, there you go. We just saw Margot Bock run up the sled, but she launches herself in, pivots off her hands, and she just caught her foot on the cowl. She was lucky to get in there.
Well, that's where you got to be a little bit of a gymnast to get in and out of these sleds. It's not easy jumping over that cowling and sitting down and then having to drive, look for those D-rings to steer the sled. And Martin, she was 14th at the China event a couple weeks ago. She's been out on tour for a few years. We've seen her. 200s lead, Katty Bile, the leader, home track, the World Cup champion in two-person bob last season. And now it's a question of how many spots.
Dropping back to third, maybe, yeah, third place. So 100th ahead of Margot Bock. So she was 200s ahead of Margot after the first heat, 100th after the second, but Katty Bile continues to stay in the leader's box.
Monobob. It's a different, you know, all of this coming so far, so fast, but to see 29 sleds in the race, Martin. Yeah, look at this.
Yeah.
This was almost disastrous. She has to adjust in there twice.
Well, there's a tiny little half-moon seat back fixed to the floor. There's no actual seat. You sit on the floor of the bobsled, but you push against footrests against this backrest that's just around the backside. So you've got to get over that. Carlen Slipper now for the Netherlands. She needs a single top 12 finish to qualify with the Dutch NOS for the Olympic Games. She lies 13th, 100 out of 12th. This could be a very big run for her.
Much better start, couple hundreds better. She's got a 2200s lead, but I don't think she's worried about the athletes behind her. Look how low she is in the sled, Martin.
Yeah,
just check
she's
the
not
profile
short.
out.
She is a tall athlete. Yeah. And again, part of that is where you put the seat back, how low, how far back you can ride. We saw Lana Myers-Taylor sitting a long way back. That's not because she's got legs like mine. It's because she's moving the mass in the sled. Little skip, but she's still in the lead over Katty Bile. And still in the lead over Katty Bile. She does want to move up. This could be a very big run for Carlen Slipper of the Netherlands.
Ducks her head, 55, 61.
I know that Hester Azinga will be watching back home, John, and leaping up and down, whooping and hollering.
1300's better than her first run, so she delivered the goods.
Yeah. That is a great run. That could really move her up. She needed 100th to move up a spot. And she has found a quarter of a second.
Martin, one top 12
One
finish.
top 12, Tom Delahunty
This could be an Olympic berth. The next sled's an Olympic berth on the line for this athlete here.
Yep, well then she needs to make the IBSF standard, but the problem for the Dutch has always been qualifying for the stringent Dutch qualification standard. So that is a huge run for Carlen.
The race is within race.
Yes, absolutely. So much at stake. Next up for Germany is Kim Kalicki, 14th fastest starter. But boy, this woman can drive a bobsled. I don't expect her to get any slower as the season progresses. Again, steps in, hops over the seat, doesn't try and vault it.
Doesn't get the great start. 10th in the Yanking China race a few weeks ago. 6th in the World Championships. One of the many German athletes. Boy, Martin, there's 2 or 3 more female athletes right behind her.
Yep.
You know, if you don't perform, gone.
Well, it's like a conveyor belt of talent, the German program in sliding sports, like it is in biathlon and so many others.
If I'm Carlen Slipper at the bottom, I'm liking what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
Speed is good, though.
900s, 1300s.
1300s. I think the Dutch athlete, or if they got a picture of the Dutch athlete here, she's just going to make the Olympic team right here on this.
I think Carlen.
17. There it is.
There you go.
Olympic team berth right there.
I don't think she's finished yet. Renault speaks with a little frown on his face.
Yeah, he doesn't
Grab that sled.
Well, you know, usually there's a brakeman take care of all this for him.
Yeah.
Well, here in the Monobob,
they're pushing as well, but they've adjusted to the fact that they're not. They've got to adjust to braking at the finish.
Brakeman takes care of a lot of things in the sled. The driver just comes up and drives them usually, and of course the push. But here, they got a multitask.
John Morgan, a former push athlete speaking, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, well, the brakeman's usually the spiritual part of the sled, and besides the brawn.
As well, the brains and the brawn. Okay, next up then is Anastasia Makarova. I'm going to dig you out of the hole you're digging for yourself, John. 6:08 at the start, so 19th best start. But, John, we haven't seen a lot of this woman driving, but I think we're going to see more. She was knocking on the door of the top 10, only 500ths out of a top 10 spot in the first heat, and that's not bad in a fully loaded World Cup class field.
Didn't get a very good start. 6:08, 19th best. She should get, the track's faster, should get a 6:05, 6:06.
Good low heel return.
Yeah.
And again, like little Chernik vaults in, but gets in clean, 6:05. I do wonder, when you're vaulting in like that, are you pulling the sled back as you push yourself forward on it?
I'm not the guy to ask.
No, I know. There are cleverer
a
people than us who know that answer.
Little bit of physics there. There's a lot of debate about how far to run. You know, it's another world. But boy, Martin, she has not made a mistake yet.
No.
She is clean.
600s. Oh, there's the mistake. 600s in hand after the first heat. She's 600s back, so she's dropped 1200s at this stage to Carlen Slipper.
Doesn't have the speed the Slipper had.
No, and the gap's growing as a result.
Dutch athlete's going to move up one more.
So now, is she going to be second or third at the line? Third it is, 200s behind Kim Kalicki. So Kalicki doesn't drop a spot, but Makarova drops 2.
Carlen Slipper's spending some time in the leader's box.
Yep.
Good strategy. Well, the Kreisel slingshot effect you want to come out of that curve with. Don't skid on the way into curve 8. She's got a minor skid. 8 sets you up.
A lot worse.
8 sets you up for 9, the most pivotal part of the track where you can't look at the friction. Great pictures from our team. She doesn't have it going perfectly straight there. That's probably why, right there, why she dropped 2 spots.
Yeah, she didn't have the speed going in either, so Carlen Slipper leads with 10 sleds down and 10 still to go here. And it is super tight in front of her. Kim Kilicki, Anastasia Makarova are trailing in the Dutch women's wake.
Martin, I wonder how many of these teams, we got to look at the start list for tomorrow. You got a start list in front of you for women's bob
no.
for tomorrow?
Team captains meeting after this race before they draw the start for the women's race.
That's why I don't have a start list. I got the 2-man start list, but I wonder how many teams that they're going to put in. I mean, how many of these athletes are going to be in their field tomorrow?
Well, Carlen, I don't think will be. Who else won't? Ashley Werner, I don't think will be. Who will be? Okay, Wai Ming, yes. Misha McNeel, yes. Andrea Greu, yes. Katty Bile, Margot Bock, Lubov Chernik, Kim Kilicki, Makarova, I'm not sure. Yanka, Sergeva, Hasler, all of the top 10 will be. I'm saying that.
I think the whole top 20.
What about Cynthia Appia and Melissa Lotholtz? Now we have to go back to the training and look to see if they trained 2-seater as well as mono. And I haven't got my training sheets in front of me. There's Nadezhda Sergeva in the queue to go. The former European champion, you talked about that. And there at the top of the ice, Mariama Yanka, the reigning Olympic champion. And for the first time ever, a female athlete will go to the sliding center for an Olympic Games with a shot at 2 medals. Doesn't happen in skeleton, but in bobsled, it will. And John, that's what is the huge attraction here, isn't it, for everybody? There's Margot Bock, Carla Seneschal in the hat. TBM, by the way, is a website, The Brakeman, set up by British brakeman Greg Cackett. Awful lot of athletes putting content in there. If you want to know what goes on behind the scenes and what's involved, it's great fun and highly entertaining. thebrakeman.com. This is an unpaid announcement. First race weekend of the BMW IBSF Women's Monobob World Cup. We are 10 sleds deep into our field, top 10 still to come, and Olympic bobsled champion Mariama Yanka in 10th place after the first heat. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action with you here from Innsbruck in Austria.
Martin, we talked about it in the first heat. She didn't really embrace women's monobob when it first came out, and you know, the Germans, you know, had her back as the Germany 3 sled, and she made some improvements. But when we went to China 3 weeks ago, she won the event on the pre-Olympic test, and so all of a sudden everybody said, wow, I mean, she's back. But she had the 11th best start time there. In the first heat here today, she had the 16th best start time. Martin just doesn't seem like she's on her game here.
Well, the great thing for her about Beijing is that clearly she knows how to drive it, and she is a driver more than a pusher for certain. Oh, skid. I'm selling her driving skills.
Right to the 100
sure
here.
She's getting there. She's lost too much. She has lost too much. So never mind your whatever it was, top 13. It is now a top 10 result for Carlen Slipper. So this is history for the Netherlands. No female bobsled driver has finished in the top 10 of a monobob race. And I'm now going to say in any bobsled race, John.
No, I challenge that.
No? Oh, okay. Now we're hearing from the Dutch in the truck. I rattled their cages. Carlen Slipper, however, is the leader. Mariama Yanka had something early on, but gave away 21 hundredths to the Dutch lady.
The Dutch finished in the top 10 women's bob. I'm a little lost for the name, but hey, one point I want to make up. In China, this here right now, it's 55 seconds to get down the track. In China, it's 1 minute 5 seconds to get down the track. 10 seconds longer. That allows people with deficient starts to have a little bit more chance at the bottom.
Well, let's see what Nadezhda Sergeyeva can manage. 5th fastest starter, did not have a great run. And he ended up in 9th spot.
Yeah, she good start. 589 there, 91 in the first run, top 5 start. Look how far back she is in the sled, Martin. She's got a little bit of Lana Meyer's setup.
Well, now here's the thing, John. She's a top 5 starter among the best drivers in the business. If she's not getting a top 5 start in a 2-seater sled, you don't look at the front seat, which we've always sort of thought, okay, maybe it's that Sergeyeva isn't quite as fast as Alana or as Kaylee, but she's top 5 on her own. Ooh, big skid.
Another one of the aspects of why I really like this Monobob.
Oh!
Late. She's the leader, Martin. She's got a good run here. She's got to be faster than her first run. 55.37.
What?
Yeah, she went 55.60, so 2,300s better in her second run.
That is the 6th fastest run we've seen, and that is what we needed from her in the first heat.
Yeah. Well, maybe the track's getting faster. It was a little perplexing yesterday when we saw the track get faster in both the men's and women's skeleton races.
And it was not mistake-free, John. Look at this.
No, this was one of the worst lines we've seen. You know, and she'll beat herself up about that. She's very competitive.
Whoa, and look at the labyrinth.
Well, you know, there she didn't steer. And Martin.
So who's the driving coach, Rico Peter?
Nah, really.
The man who never steered ever? That's some great racing. Nadezhda Sergeyeva lays down a marker, and that puts real pressure even on Melanie Hassler here of Switzerland, who was 1,500s quicker than the Russian in the previous run.
Hassler didn't compete. 98, pretty much the same she had in the first run of 99. I don't see her name on the list for the China event.
Top driver, World Championships, yeah. She's just 23. Yeah, really came on with a bang last season, didn't she? Particularly in St. Moritz, had a great race weekend there.
Best speed, so she's got a 400 deficiency. Best speed, good lines here on the exit of 9. Oh, it's up to 6 though. Watch the rudder tips. Oh, not perfect.
Well, nor was Sergeyeva. Sergeyeva looks worse there, actually. This could still be in the balance.
Big speed here at the bottom.
Hassler gonna hang on.
Too close to call.
Oh,
there it is.
200s in it. Yeah. So Sergeyeva's first heat let her down a little. Melanie Hassler only 500 slower than her first heat. So much more consistency, and she's happy with that, John.
Martin, 55.45, then 55.50. 500 slower.
Yeah.
Watch her get in. Watch the athleticism getting in.
Okay, I need to speak to Woolly Man and find out why she's so thrilled about a top 8 finish. That sounds to me like it has significance. She was genuinely ecstatic with that run.
Well, she's the best Swiss sled. She's the only sled left from Switzerland in the top 20. Yep. It might be something to do with Olympic qualification.
Do you know what? I'm kind of thinking that. There's so many of these little subtexts going on. Okay, so we head into the top 7. We still have 2 US sleds, 3 Canadian sleds, 1 German sled, and an Australian. First up, Melissa Lottholz, 1,500s out of the lead. Only 500s lead over Melanie Hassler, though. So the Sharks are now circling.
Well, there's top 7 sleds separated by 1,500s. That's awesome. And Lottholz went late. Oh, she made a mistake there, though. She went late, Martin. Didn't have the great ice to work with. She puts down a heat like she had in the first run. She could move up. And Martin, only 1,500 separates 7 sleds. This is great racing.
The medals are anyone's right now, aren't they?
Yeah. No mistakes allowed.
This is another neat and tidy-looking run, and there's an awful lot that the setup of the sled has to do with that.
Great exit there out of 9. Good speed. She's pulling away. This could be a faster heat.
For a medal somewhere. Top 6 result, maybe. 55-34.
Yeah, she's 600 better.
5th.
Very consistent both times for Cynthia Appia, the former brakeman.
That is the 5th fastest run we've seen, and Graham Richardson running all the way to the end. Cynthia Appia basically stopped, Melissa Lotholz basically stopped halfway through the finish curve. Yeah, it's the muscles. She's saying it's the muscles on the handles that's making the difference.
This mistake here was costly, though, up there at the top of the track where the speeds are slow. The rest of the ride down, excellent.
And the guns making the braking look very straightforward. Next up, double race winner on this track last season, Brianna Walker. She was the track record holder, and the Aussie, who hasn't seen home in well over 18 months. It's Lee Johnson and the GB boys helping. That's Brad Hall at the front of the sled, is it? Brad moving sleds? Goodness me, stranger things happen.
Very interesting. Lotholz had an 88 start time. Walker had an 88 start time. They're only separated by 200ths at the bottom. Two athletes with a lot of similarities. Third best start in the first run. So 88, she should be going 86. The track up here seems to be a little faster.
87. Well, that's 300ths advantage added over Melissa Lotholz, so that's a 500th of a second gain as she sits down.
Needs to be clean up here. 900ths, that's the start. That's how the start. If you're 300ths up, you'll be 900ths up at the next clock, and that's what she did.
Well, she was kind of the benchmark last year, wasn't she?
Not good speeds, not good speed there. 600, she stayed at 600. She should have been accelerating away there.
Yeah,
not a bad
mistake. This is going to be very close for Brianna Walker. 100
I think it's going to be red. She's not going to do it. It's going to be right to the 100.
Something special at the bottom. Duck your head. 100
There's 100.
back.
That's a big deal.
Again, in both runs, although she ducked ahead, she did hit the wall before the timing eye, and that's going to take a few hundreds out of the sled. All on those anchors.
Come down the track, 1.5 miles in distance, 2 runs, lose by 100th, what they say is like a fingernail. It's not fair. But sometimes sport is not fair.
Sport is rarely fair.
And you're fair. You know, this is not perfect, but not serious penalty there. 100th, though.
Yeah. It is Brad Hall who's helping out there with the driving coaching. Brianna Walker. So she is in second spot with 5 to go.
Let's go. All right, here we go, Christine.
We will have a Canadian leader after this sled. Currently it's Melissa Lotholz, next up Christina De Bruyn, and then we have Cynthia Appia coming. We could end up with a Canadian 1, 2, 3. They were all tightly bunched after the first of our 2 heats.
Yeah, 6 flat in the first heat.
Yeah.
She's the worst starter in the top 10 sled, 9 sleds. So, but you know, with the deficient start time, it shows you how good of a driver she is. She's really accelerated down the track. Red numbers. The speed here at Kreisel, only down 10, 400ths. She can get that up to the top 2 or 3 speed here in the bottom. She's got a chance. 900ths, here she comes. She can find 9 with good lines right here.
Well, the good news is it wasn't her teammate Melissa Lotholz who was setting the best speed.
She's gonna fall back 2 spots at least now, Mark. That mistake on the exit of 9 did her in.
There's only a 100th between the top 2, so she drops back 1. And Melissa Lotholz stays in the leader's box.
She won't be happy with that, but again, Martin, her start deficiency, she's the worst start of the top 9 sleds, Great drive in the first heat, but it puts so much pressure on you to deliver a great drive every time if you don't have that first 50-meter time. You know, in this mistake here, exit of 9. Look at the sled get off the curve. That's the outlet. Look at the speed down here. Big difference in speed. You know, it doesn't sound like much, 0.3 of a kilometer. When you're dealing with hundreds of seconds, that is a lot.
Yeah.
That skid right here. Friction, pivotal part of the track where you want to continue to accelerate.
When you saw the way that Christine got bounced up out of her seat, think of the energy it takes to lift a human being, and that's the energy coming out of the sled, and that's what generates the speed, or in that case, doesn't. So next up for Canada is Cynthia Appia. Start draw number 1 gave her the freshest ice to work with, and she had the fastest start at 5:81. Her own start record dating back to January this year, 5:76. How close does she get? Oh, gets hooked up a little getting in.
Still same time.
Yeah.
She's from Toronto. She's a hammer thrower. And Martin, she came out of nowhere, including a bronze medal at the China event 3 weeks ago. This athlete probably got the least amount of trips on a bobsled track, 2 or women, or a monobob or 2-person bob than anybody. But her athleticism is putting her where she is. The start, 2300s. Hard to throw 2300s away here. 24, she's accelerating away more. Ooh, that wasn't a good line.
She wants a medal, John. And she's only 7/100ths of a second off gold. Cynthia Appia,
she's losing time back. Exit of 9.
Way to a medal.
Gonna be close.
Oh my goodness! Melissa Lockhold still the leader. Beg your pardon, 100th back.
The top 3 sleds separated by 200ths. 100th back, 200ths back.
Yeah.
That's the persona of the Innsbruck track.
From a 1/4 of a second up, coming down to turn 9, 100th in front at the line.
Look at the athleticism here. I mean, this might be the, well, it doesn't get in. This is the inexperience here. Doesn't have figured out that entry into the sled yet.
She's got her feet hooked up on the bungee straps that hold the D-rings off the ground, hasn't she?
I would dare say this might be the best athlete in the field, but Alana Myers might challenge me on that. But
well, Alana was only 200ths back at the start, so she's definitely a good package.
She loves that.
And Alana has a decade of driving experience in her pocket. Now then, 200ths, 3 sleds, anyone's race to win. Anyone's
Don't count out Cynthia Appia, who's at the bottom, saying, catch me if you can.
Yeah, she's saying, slip, make a mistake, hit a wall.
Yeah, 95 in the first run, 94 in the second run for the...
There you go.
Well, but we saw some great speeds from Kaylee Humphreys on the bottom part of the track. She's got the 7th best start, so she's at a little bit of a disadvantage for the sleds that just went down, and the 2 that are coming, and her teammate is coming up. Red number still.
Yeah,
1000 back. Boy, best speed though. Look at the best speed. She needs to be perfect. She still has a chance. 8. Here she comes.
Better speed than Cynthia Appia, but it's not about Appia, it's about trying to win the gold medal.
Here she is, green numbers. She's going to be the leader.
200ths covered the top 3 after the first heat. 2 more sleds to go. She leads by 10,
55-36.
Well, that is 900 slower than her first heat.
A little bit better
her
at the
teammates.
Start. She posted the best speed in the race in the first run.
Yeah, she knows she's got a medal, John. The question is, what color?
Yeah, and Martin, she's the only athlete in the field driving with goggles.
Big skid there.
Look at that. Look at that skid there. Yeah, that was strange at a curve 9.
Back goes up and then comes back down.
Look at the runners there. She really skidded there, Martin.
Yeah.
And
well, the front is going where she wants. It's the back that's a little wayward. It's walking around.
That's the challenge of the stability with these lighter monobobs right there. Good pictures
so
from our
Kaylee
team.
with the lead, and next up her teammate Lara Nolte set the time. Alana Myers-Taylor matched it, so although they are tied, Alana goes first. So again, we will have a US leader after this sled, but who is going to take a medal out of this race? Kaylee Humphries leads, Cynthia Appia second, Melissa Lottholtz third, 1100s cover the top three, 1200s the top four. And I've had a message to remind me that Brianna Walker's coach is Matthias Burmer. Morning, Bomi. It's not Brad Hall. 588.
Ooh, not. That was 500 slower.
Yeah.
Boy. And not very good velocity there. Sixth best velocity. She should have had better velocity than that.
Well, she's
got green numbers.
Still outstarted Kaylee, so she's still got an advantage.
Yeah, but...
And actually, it's not about what Cynthia Appia, the fastest starter, did. It's about what the medal contenders do. So, best speed.
See what she does here at 9. Watch the back end here at 9. Watch the exit here. That's much smoother. Watch the speed in the left.
This is her taking the lead.
13, she's pulling away, Martin.
Could be a gold medal. Alana Myers-Taylor.
Exeter curve 9 was the magic for her. 55-25.
What did she do?
Exact same time.
So
exact same time as her first heat.
3 runs now, exactly the same time, because Lara Nolte did a 55-25 in the first heat as well. She matches her time to the 100th, despite being 500 slower at the top.
So she ties the track record, which she set in the first heat with Nolte. Look at the line here, though. Remember, Kaylee Humphries had problems coming around curve 9. That's the pivotal part of the track. Alana, who everybody says Kaylee's the better driver. This time, Alana outdrove Kaylee.
And nearly half a kilometre an hour quicker. And she's sitting further back in the sled. She sits further back than anybody. She's sitting as far back as Shaquille O'Neal would need to sit. She ain't as tall as Shaq. For the gold medal, it is a US 1-2. Can Lara Nolte pull the gold away from Alana Myers-Taylor?
Start time. There, see, Alana went 400 slower, 500 slower. This young German athlete, Nolte, went 200s better. Now, even though she's at a disadvantage here, the red numbers will stay. The key is going to be her speed in Kreisel. It's down to 5. If she has the best speed here in Kreisel, she's going to win the gold medal. Because remember, Alana had the 6th best speed. Look at your left. 10th best speed. Wow.
All right. Well, Alana wasn't fastest, but she was quicker than this. Now, the gap first to second is 1300s. Right now, it's a silver medal for Lara Nolte. Will she take silver? Will it be bronze?
No.
She's behind Kaylee Humphries. She'll be in 3rd place ahead of Cynthia Appia at the line. It is victory for Alana Myers-Taylor. Silver for Kaylee Humphries.
By 100.
Bronze for Lara Nolte.
How about that? Humphries wins by 100. That's for silver to bronze.
Yeah. All right. She is in the medals, first race of the season. Her new bright pink van is easy to spot, and the driving talent is easy to spot as well for Lara Nolte. Couldn't match the pace, though, of Alana Myers-Taylor when it counted in the second heat.
Look at the arms come up. Very good entry into the sled. Didn't waste any energy there. Gets down with her hands on the D-rings. Surprise, something happened, Martin. She shouldn't have had the 10th best speed here in Kreisel. That was the first alarm that told us something was going on.
Yep. Well, if you lose speed early in the run, it's impossible to get it back. Alana Myers-Taylor is the winner of the season opening race in the Women's Monobob World Cup.
Martin, she had a lot of success in this track in 2 women's bob, which we're going to see tomorrow. Great start here for the mother of Nico. Travels on tour with her, with husband Nick, who's on the men's team. And Alana, she's not the best starter in the field anymore. That goes to Cynthia Appia, but Alana, still one of the dominant athletes in this field, especially at the start.
37 years old, mother, Olympic medalist, and now our first race winner in the Women's Monobob World Series for this season. Katie Humphries makes it a US 1-2, 100th ahead of Lara Nolter. And look at the Canadians racked up behind with Brianna Walker in the midst. Melanie Hassler, 8th, 9th, Nadezhda Sergeva, 10th, Carlen Slipper. A great run for the Dutch woman, and that will happily, I think, seal her Olympic standard for the Dutch Olympic Association. So big day for her, big day for Alana Myers-Taylor as we head towards the first ever Winter Olympic competition in women's monobob in Beijing in February.
You know, in March, she was only 8th at the test in China a few weeks ago, so I'm sure she's feeling really good. Look at the runner tips here. We've talked about the exit of this curve. We thought that Kaylee might have made a mistake there. Alana, good drive down the track. That's why she's the winner.
She is indeed. The complete package is what you need in all sports, and she is the complete package here today. That's it then for the monobob. This afternoon, men's bobsleigh begins with the two-man competition. We'll be live at 13:30 Central European Time, 12:30 GMT, 07:30 Eastern. Join us then. Meanwhile, from John Morgan, I'm Martin Haven saying thanks for being with us. We'll see you later. Goodbye for now.